comic industry is crumbling around us, or so the news would have you think. But there are actual real life vigilante superheroes out here in the world trying to keep the industry afloat. And we're going to talk about them. Now, before you get all, where's Dez? Where's Rich? I know, right? They're seeing Fantastic Four. So it's me, Mutton Shop, Moonshine, whatever Dez calls me, producer Kyle, filling in for those fellas tonight here on the Geek Chat. So we're going to get real geeky and real chatty with our special guest here in just a second. Stay tuned. What's up, the internet's producer Kyle? This is the Geek Chat. I am not one of the normal geeks that's normally chatting, but I am here because they went to the movies. Rich posted a great picture of him and Coog on the train or the bus or something on the way to the movies. So I'm excited to hear what those guys have to say about Fantastic Four. Hopefully, unlike with Superman, I'll get to hear it after I've seen the movie. We'll see. But I have a special guest tonight. Our special guest tonight is one of the people, in my opinion, that is out here doing too much, but also doing the most to help keep this industry on track in these times when, let's be honest, tracks are hard to find. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in my friend Brian Garside of Managed Comics.
It's me. Hey, this shirt is actually, ironically, exactly how I feel today. Just like it's perfect, and it was ironic because I just grabbed it.
That's very funny. So, for anybody who doesn't know, Brian is one of the two-headed monster that is Comic Industry Insiders Live, along with Adam Freeman, who is another one of these vigilante-style superheroes that's out here trying to keep this thing on the rails every day. So, let's just dive into who you are and what you do, Brian.
Sure. So I'm also 1/3 of the three-headed beast that is the Data Bros.
We were going to get to Django and Jeff in a minute.
With Django and Jeff, who are in. So there was supposed to be a San Diego reunion of the Data Bros, and then I had to put on a cape and save the industry. What can I say? Right. And I say that with my tongue so firmly planted in my cheek, but people have started repeating it to me, and I'm terrified because I don't want to be the egotistical jerk that allegedly is saving, because I'm not. I'm just doing my part.
But there are a lot of people out there right now who are doing small parts.
Yep.
What's the quote? The world has only ever been changed by a large group of people doing little acts.
Yeah.
Or doing little things. And some people are doing bigger things than others. And some people are doing really tiny little things. You seem to be doing big things. At least
big, but they're yeah.
They're big for the people they're big for, right?
They feel big. Yeah. I'll give you if you want, I'll give you the whole. Do you want how far back do you want to
go? Conception. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well, so my mom and my dad
no. Tell people about how you got into comics and then the kind of the weird trajectory you've taken since you've been here.
Sure, yeah. So way back when I was a kid that read comics, and then I in like 1989, just before the Batman boom, I got my first job at a comic store, Bid Time Return in London, Ontario, which I got by just like pestering the manager and buying her coffee all the time, which is how you get a job at a comic store in the 1980s. And I was just there all the time. So it was just easier to, pay me to be there than it was to kick me out. So that was my first comics job. And I kind of did that off and on. I also caught like the selling bug. So I live in London, which is halfway between Toronto and Detroit. And I would get stuff on like a Friday. And then on the Saturday, I would drive to Toronto, and there was like 3 or 4 places that I would go and sell comics and then come back. And I did that for years. And even when I was going to college, like that was, if I needed beer money, right? It's like, okay, I'll sell a ASM 298. I'll go get rid of one of those. And so it was, that's how I paid for it. And everyone actually thought I was a drug dealer, and I didn't bother disabusing them of the notion because it was way cooler at the time than being a comic dealer. So fast forward to like 2005. So I went through school for television production, accidentally fell into the internet, Um, 2005, I had moved just outside of Toronto. It was taking me like 45 minutes each way to get my comics every week. And so I started buying them online, but then I got hit by a duty charge of like $65 for $60 worth of comics from, I can't remember if it was Midtown. It was one of those like big shops. It was either my comic store shop or Midtown. And I was like, oh man, this is terrible. So I looked around and there were no Canadian online comic stores. So I did what you do and I built one. So in 2005, we were like one of the first subscription services in North America that was online. All New Comics was the name of that company. And that existed until December of last year. It's still around, but he doesn't do subscriptions. December last year, I bought it, and now it's Earth 519. So, in between all that, um, at some point during my cushy IT career, I realized that the thing I was doing for All New Comics was just as easy for me to do for like 100 stores as it was for one. It's so adorable back then. So I managed comics, and its idea was that it would manage the subscriptions for stores. And we built it up to about 160 stores when the pandemic hit. And we lost a bunch of stores too during that time. Like I think we lost about 25 or 30 stores over the course of the next like 18 months. But a new opportunity came up, which was like we had to get these stores online really, really fast. So we already had credit card processing built into our system. So we just opened it up so that they could invoice for stuff and do click and collect at the curb and things. So it kind of helped stores stay alive during that time when they were not able to be open. But it also made me think about Shopify. And so we started looking into Shopify, and then we're like, wait, what if Managed Comics was part of Shopify? So we are an app within the Shopify ecosystem. So if you have a Shopify store, you can add Managed Comics as an app, and you will instantly have a catalog of like, the next 10,000 items that are coming out. This Friday, we'll be adding the catalogs for this month or for, I guess, August. Um, and then just recently, like back in January, I was looking at doing an integration with RMH, but weird things happened and that didn't go through. And then recently, I kind of had different conversations with different people, including Jeff, who is the president of RMH. And they were like, why don't you do this thing? And so we decided 12 weeks ago that we were going to rip all of the Shopify guts out of Managed Comics and spin up a new system called Managed Comics Oryx, which is a standalone Managed Comics. Does not require Shopify, integrates with Lightspeed and RMH, and is currently in a closed beta for 5 and as of tonight 6 stores. So yeah, that was they built it in like 8 days, and then we spent 5 days testing it and really like putting it through its paces. And now it's in the hands of people who are finding little things that they need changed in order for their workflows to work. And then we will go live in like a week and a half, maybe sooner.
I love that. Like,
And then we'll
and
figure out charge for it later because we have not built any sort of a charging system.
well, I got to get in on it then before you figure out what it costs.
Well, I know what it costs. So we're charging $100 per store. For your first location, if you have 2 locations, like 2 physical locations, it's 100 for the first, $80 for each additional, which is like
We'll talk.
commensurate with our
What if
with
your
our Shopify.
location is a Ford Edge? Anyway, we'll talk later.
That's okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. We
no,
don't discriminate.
one of the things that, and it's one of the reasons that I think we became friends uh, through this process, is that you and I seem to think a lot alike in terms of it doesn't exist for comics, so let's just frickin' build it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
let's
Right.
just, oh, we need a
Do it.
thing that does this and it doesn't exist. Well, why don't we just make it?
Yeah.
Um, a lot of the stuff here from the EXP, and I've talked to you about this on several occasions. I don't know how many of the people watching have know this, but a lot of the things that exist here on the experience exist because I built them.
Right.
The way our StreamYard system works only works that way because I wrote code and sent it to StreamYard and said, "Put this in."
Right.
Um, like it was I was fixing integrations for them and fixing bugs in the system. We were breaking StreamYard almost every week when we launched the EXP, and I was hand coding
Uh,
it. A lot of the way our website stuff works is this system isn't built for this. Well, let me figure out how I can integrate 3 or 4 other things and make it work.
yeah.
Um, and that's the thing. Again, Jeff and Django are very much the same way. I think Adam's the same way. There are some of us that are just like, okay, well, let's just make it, and we'll figure out how to make it, and then we'll figure out how to do it.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. Smart and get things done is the when I used to manage a team of like 26 IT people. And the two things I was always looking for were people with a broad skill set that specialized in one thing and that were smart and got things done.
right,
Like, and that's how you get things done.
right. The way I always tell people, like the people I'm looking to hire, are Swiss Army people.
Yep.
They're really good at one specific job. A Swiss Army knife is really good at being a knife,
Yep.
but it's okay at being a scissors.
Yep. Yep.
And I need you to be okay at being a scissors. You know,
Yeah. Valve software calls them T-shaped people because they're broad experience that can do a lot of things and they're specialized in one area. So the idea is you get enough T's together and you have a pillar, right? So you get a bunch of T's. This guy knows print. This guy knows digital. This guy is really good at front end code. This guy's good at back end server optimization. Get all those people together and you've got just an unstoppable team. And I've always kind of hired for that, and I've always kind of surrounded myself with those people too,
right,
because they nobody is there's nothing better for your soul than being surrounded by people smarter than you. I,
right,
I
right,
I love to say if I'm the smartest person in a room, I am in the wrong room.
right. Oh, for sure. Um, but at the same time you're doing all of this, you're also kind of on the steering committee for what I think is the biggest development in comics outside of Diamond no longer existing, which is a standardized data set.
Yeah.
So tell everybody about Comet. I mean, if you haven't heard about Comet and you've been watching this channel for very long, hello, I would like to visit your cave. But tell everybody about Comet and why standardized data matters.
Sure. I'll actually do even better. I'll even show you I'll show you the website, which I made. Um, so the Comet standard is a standardized way of getting data into systems, and that doesn't matter whether that system is Lunar's system, Penguin Random House's system, my system, whatever. If we have a consistent way that data is presented, um, this actually makes it easier for everyone. The other big thing about Comet is like for 30 some odd years there was one way data was done, and it was the Diamond way, right? Like Diamond had brand managers. Those brand managers added all their data to a bunch of Excel files. Those Excel files went to an AS400 in the back of the Diamond warehouse, and it normalized them. And you know what? It was good enough. It wasn't great. You couldn't add any new fields to it, but it was good enough, right? And then in 2020, when we had Lunar and UCS come along, all of a sudden things like series codes broke. Lunar was doing data slightly different than UCS. So you now had two places that you get DC from. And each one of them had the data just a little bit different. So we at Managed Comics very quickly built a system called Geek Fetch where we could suck all this data in, normalize it, and create like one unified view. I'm not going to pretend that like that was the inspiration for Comet, but there were multiple people who were doing similar things who were like, oh my gosh, we have to unify this data in some way. So we got together from, I want to say it was like in 2022. Was it 2022 or 2023, Kyle? You were there.
2022. The white piece of paper was 2022.
No. The white paper was 2023, I think.
Then yeah, 2023.
Yeah.
So
it was
2022
No,
was
it was
the
2024. So it was 2023 that we made the announcement. 2024 we
What year
released
is
the white
this?
paper. This is 2025. So it was 3 years ago. So
Yeah, no, that's so true.
for a year, we solicited industry. We had over 90 participants. So there were publishers, there were distributors, there were retailers. Marvel and DC were in the same room together talking about this stuff. It was fascinating, and we were talking often about like kind of the deep, scary things that nobody's allowed to talk about in a corporate environment, and we were just discussing those very, very openly. And it was transparent, but it was transparent to a very closed group, so it was great. And there's reasons why Marvel does something one way, and there's a reason why DC has to do it a different way. So having those conversations was super important because we have to adapt to their systems as much as they need to adapt to ours.
Right.
So this out of this came a 128 field um, standard, and these are the key parts that are like core to every single product. So you have to have a UPC, ISBN, or EAN. Obviously, you need a title, you need a US price, and you need a product category in order to create a product. And then you need a bunch of different things like series name, number, blah blah blah. Those things are all kind of key. And then there's another like 70 other items that include like series family and storyline code and all these things that everybody's like, oh yeah, we should probably have a way of tying all the Batman family together. We should have a way of when Future State's out, tying all those titles together. So out of that came a really, really cool standard. Penguin Random House has been giving us tests for about 3 or 4 months now. Lunar is like so close. They're always so close. And then, the universe explodes again and they have to take on another 50 publishers and they scramble to do that. And so we get just a little bit further behind, but it's really good that it's happening. It's really, really tough right now because during COVID, so much of the internal knowledge, the like, institutional knowledge around how data works was lost with the layoffs.
Mhm.
DC lost like Vince is a data god. That guy has forgotten more about data than I'll ever know. Vince is over at Dynamite now. And, you saw a sudden improvement in Dynamite's data the day that Vince started. So there's
Right.
all these people behind the scenes that we don't even know the names of, that I know the names of now, like Alex at Marvel and Betsy at DC, and all these people that have a hand in this stuff and are helping to make it better. Um, yeah, so that's Comet in a nutshell. And if anybody wants to go to the cometstandard.com, not the. Not only do we have an open data dictionary, you can download this, you can see all these fields and understand what they mean. We also have downloadable files. So if you're a publisher, a small publisher, and you want to see what your data should look like, you can come here, download this, and start filling it out.
I We've talked before on the channel, you and I have, on the EXP here, and we've talked before other places about how I'm a believer that standardized data is going to unlock a way for this industry to exist going forward that is going to make everyone more profitable.
Yeah.
That is going to make everything make more sense, and it's going to allow the people who aren't Marvel, DC, Image, Dynamite, Boom, IDW, whatever, to actually be able to tell whether or not the direct market works for them.
Yes.
And at the same time, it's going to allow the direct market to say, oh, well, hey, this publisher that I've never heard of is popping off. I should order this
Hmm.
because there's data to back it up.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at you,
Exactly.
everybody who missed out on Mark Spears.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
right? So when you talk about managed comics, you talk about Comet standards, you talk about Oryx, you talk about all of these things, and you make the joke about saving the world, saving the industry. What are some challenges that you have seen crop up in the last couple of years that we now have licked? Right? What are some things that are like, you know what, it's fixed now? Or
Yeah. That's hilarious
to
because those are the ones that I never think about because we've solved them. We just move along.
Right.
Um, I would say, okay, so the number one, and I would say this is 2020. In 2020, very few comic stores had websites. And that's something that has driven me crazy for my entire career. Because, in my opinion, if you have a comic store and you don't have a website, you have a comic store that's on life support and you don't know it yet because you never know that you're about to die. It just happens one day and you're dead. Um, and the reason I say this is because if you have two stores in the same city, one of them has a website, the other one doesn't. I guarantee you that if you Google search comic store in the city, the one that has a website comes up higher. Further, if that store has a Shopify website, and I don't, this is just fact. It's there. You can Google it and see. Shopify stores rank higher for on Google than anything else. Even like Equid or BigCommerce or anything. If you put a Shopify store and a BigCommerce store side by side, the Shopify store will rank higher. I think it's partly because like Shopify directly integrates with Google sales channels. It directly integrates with your social media stuff. And because that the signals that it gives out are better. So it says this is a going concern of a business. This business regularly updates its products. There's all you go to a comic store and you see that the last update on the blog was 2019. Like,
Right.
you may as well not have a website at that point.
Right.
But if I see that, oh yeah, they uploaded Superman number 28 this week, like they have copies of Superman 28. Okay, I know that they exist. So that was one of the big changes we saw around COVID was that all of a sudden it was no longer a, hey, you need a website. It was, oh my God, I need a website. It became a much better conversation to have. And then now that's kind of, oh my God, I've been going to a bunch of comic stores websites and just finding out that like their SSL certificate's broken or their website doesn't resolve anymore, even though Google tells me that they exist. That's such a bad, like, spend the $20 to get your website running. Even if you just have a brochureware website, nothing's worse than having a broken website. It means that you don't care about that.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big changes that I noticed was like websites were easier to convince people they need, and you need them in this day and age. I think also just online in general has been easier for people to adapt to than it was even a couple of years ago. Pre-orders and prepayments, like every single other industry, you want to buy the new Optimus Prime, or you want to buy the guarantee that you're going to get the Soundwave Lego set. The only way to guarantee that is to go find that website that is pre-selling it and buy it now, because when it comes out on the shelves, I guarantee you're never going to find it.
Right.
We've conditioned people that way with every single other product, but comics are still kind of lagging behind that. So we will regularly sell a $300, $200 graphic novel, signed in limited edition print run thing, and just hope that guy comes back and pays for it. He'll pay. He's good for it, right?
No,
Like,
it's true. I mean, one of the things that I will cop to, and as the years have gone on, it's gotten easier for me to cop to things that killed my store.
yeah,
Like, my shop got killed because of COVID. Like that was the nail through the through the temple that did the
yeah. That
job.
was the final thing. But your
Right.
shop was probably sick beforehand. You just didn't understand it until
Right.
that last
Right.
little thing happened. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, for sure.
Until every until it's, hey, you need to spend $100,000 or close, and you're going,
Correct.
I won't make $100,000 in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
Um, going, okay, I'm gonna buy this $200 manga box set because this guy says he wants it. Will I sell this $200 manga box set? Abso-freaking-lutely.
yeah,
But I'm buying it on somebody's word instead of buying it on a deposit, on a prepay, on a because I
correct. Yeah,
know I'll sell it, but I may buy it and it sit for 8 months before I sell it. So now
yep.
I've just given that money away. Um,
You're also giving away a interest free loan for that $200. You just gave that guy $200 and
mhm,
you said, I'll collect it when you're ready to give it to me. There's no terms to it. There's nothing like that. Just,
Right.
yeah, I trust you that you're going to pay me back.
Right. And those were the things that, looking back now, was one of the big things that I should have done differently. There were a
Yeah.
lot of things I should have done differently, but that is one that I look at all the time going, "Oh, yeah, well, that was a mistake." That's why you had regularly $3,000 diamond bills, $4,000 diamond bills,
Yeah.
and you were
The
only
one that's
selling
killing
$2,800 worth of product.
Yeah. As smart as I am, allegedly, the one that's killing me right now with my comic shop is like all 128 of my customers, I would say 120 of them are online and I don't ever see them. 8 of them I see fairly regularly. 120 of them, I bill them once a month. And so I accrue bills all month long. And months like this, where it's been a really big month and it's a 5-week month. So now I have to make my money stretch an extra month, extra week. And every week has been like $2,500, $2,500. So I'm right now at the point where I'm like, oh God, is my credit card going to cover between now and next Tuesday when people start to pay? Or do I need to go and grab money out of my line of credit and put it in there? That
Right.
is that's a business that's actually not working for me. And that I need to address that sooner than later. The thing is, we have such short memories. Next month will
Mhm.
be a 4-week month and it'll be a light month. And I'll be like,
Right.
ah, no, I'm fine. Everything's good. And then 3
Right.
months from now, when the next 5-week month comes, I'm going to be like, what did I do?
Right. No, and that's the thing of, well, instead of billing once a month, you're billing every 10 days. You're
Or
billing
bill
every
every
whatever.
week. Why am I
Right.
not
And that
billing these people every week and saying we'll accrue this until, because the thing is about that monthly billing is every now and then we'll get one guy who just won't pay for like 3 more weeks. So now
Right.
I'm 7 weeks behind and I paid those bills 6 weeks ago because we only
Right.
get 7-day terms.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, and one of the things when I'm talking to new stores and we're doing imports and I say, well, before you import everything, make sure you've got everybody's email addresses and phone numbers up to date. And a lot of them will say, oh, we don't require email addresses or phone numbers. And I'm like, what? You're just going to trust that guy to come in every week? Like, most comic fans are kind of getting up there in age. What do you do the week he doesn't come in? It's the third week he doesn't come in. What if he's in the
Right.
hospital or like, and you don't know? Are you just going to keep on saving his stuff in perpetuity until and hope that he
Right.
comes in? Like, yeah, you're
Right.
you're making interest-free loans. Get at least a phone number,
Right.
at least.
So we've kind of talked about the things that were broken and things that are still some things that are still broken that we need to fix for ourselves. What are some of the big hurdles you see out there right now that you and others like you are actively working to fix?
Well, number one is the implosion of Diamond and like the loss of Comic Suite and Pullbox. And Pullbox, I didn't realize was as big a deal as it is. The number of people that use Pullbox to update their comic lists, and that hasn't had data in it. Like, we're going on 2 months now. Um, so there's tons of stuff that's missing from that. And these poor people haven't had any way of, they're just basically cobbling things together right now. So that's one thing for sure. Comic Suite going away, 350 RMH stores that no longer have support for their thing that Diamond sold them, 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
Which, if you ever went to a show that had a big Diamond presence, Comic Suite was a huge part of that every time because they were convincing stores to get on or stay on Comic Suite. Um, Comic Suite hasn't really been updated consistently for the last 3 or 4 years, I would say. They laid off a bunch of people around COVID, and stuff didn't really get updated past that. So they're so far behind in technology and
Mm.
things like that. Um, Diamond created Pullbox. It was a cool idea that, like a lot of things with Diamond, they just kind of took halfway and then went, good enough. We're going to move on to the things that are core to our business. So these things are core to my business. They're super important to me. as both a store owner and as a customer, like I build the stuff that I want to use.
Right.
Um, and we also have always had a user community. So we have like a Facebook group where people can talk to each other. We have a public roadmap.managecomics.com, where we actually solicit ideas and like build them. If a bunch of people vote for an idea, we go, okay, let's just build that thing. If it's
Hmm.
something really easy to do and it's not going to, cause any problems with us, we'll just build something cool. And that's more than anything what I want to get back to. I'm so tired of screwing around with data. Um, we make no incremental dollars by fixing the Batman listing this month. But if we add a cool feature that like 100 customers then buy the like more comics because they saw that thing, the industry makes more money. Nobody makes more money by fixing the Batman listing.
Right. Um, One of the other things that I know you and I have kind of spoken about, and we've talked about with Adam a little bit, is the fact that previews is dead, and the
Yes.
need to replace to have a place, a aggregator of that information. Right. It's every week I do the FOC show with Matthias, and every week we're going to 3 or 4 different websites
Yep.
to make sure we're getting the information we want. And usually between PRH and Lunar, we can handle it. But on
Yep.
occasion, we got to jump over to Simon and Schuster. We got to jump over to some other website to get that information. When it used to be, we just went to Previews World and walked through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
As a retailer, is the loss of something like Previews, is it? I imagine for you, it doesn't matter. It's not hurting you as much as it might hurt someone else.
Yeah, so we have a backend tool called GeekFetch. If you go to
Right.
geekfetch.com, I think it'll resolve to like our little page. So all of our retailers have access to that. And so they can go ahead and look for any comic and find it. And then they'll have all the distributor information. There is a rumor that somebody who looks a lot like me might actually have bought a really, really cool domain and be working on that and have plans to launch it within the next 6 weeks, maybe. I
Maybe.
can't really speak to that, but if my lawyer was here, he would caution me that I've said too much.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. I've said too much. By the way, I'm sending you a photo in Facebook right now. Just
Okay.
I don't know, maybe I did something wrong, but that is not a response you would expect from that website. Anyway, moving on from that. Let's talk the nitty-gritty of
Oh, I know. Yeah, you went to geekfetch.com and it resolved to a
yeah.
error. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's app.geekfetch.com. That's a long
Got it.
story, and it's got to do with AWS servers. And since nobody else uses it other than us, we just keep it that way. You were
There we
correct.
go.
Yeah,
I'm like, wait, this is your SSL server is no good. Your SSL certificate is no good. Anyway,
yeah,
so let's talk a little bit about some of the other fun parts of things that are happening right now. Some of the other fun things we're doing.
sure.
Um, and I want to get your opinion on this. It seems to me like there is a lot more collaboration happening in and around the business now than there was even 5 years ago.
I agree. Yeah,
On these things, right? You and Django, two separate entities in terms of
yeah. We're not even
retail
gonna.
management.
Let's not even get into Django because Django, Jeff, and I. We could do an entire podcast about how I'm pretty sure that we violate every SEC list,
Sure.
anti-competitive regulation when we talk to each other.
But it's one of those things. It's like they have comic shop assistant. You have managed comics. Comic shop assistant is a POS. Yours is not specifically a
Yeah,
POS.
yeah,
Um, but the collaboration between the two very separate entities working towards the same goal.
yep,
The collaboration between again, you talked about Lunar and Penguin Random House sitting at the same table.
yep.
Marvel and DC
Absolutely.
sitting at the same table.
Yeah.
these are things
Diamond. I mean,
that
Diamond was at the
right,
table with us.
right.
Yeah, it was crazy. We had all
Well,
three publishers
yeah.
or distributors. Four. We had
And I will
Unicrypt.
say this: Diamond was at the table because Chris Powell. Like, I firmly believe that Chris was the one who probably went, "Hey, you need to be at this table."
Yeah, he may have. The folks like Cora Pinella, who was part of
Yes,
our group, they were amazing, like very, very smart folks. And it was really nice to see, different faces. Cora's at, I believe, PRH now. So yeah, but yeah, absolutely. There's a book to be written there about, this whole kind of period, I think.
yeah. Do you think that the spirit that this collaboration has, in my opinion, I don't know even know how to ask this question. In my opinion, we wouldn't be as stable as we are, even with the instability, if it weren't for the
Dude,
collaboration.
I will tell you what, uh, this industry today would not exist if Lunar, if the DC hadn't gone to Lunar, and
Mhm.
if the stuff that we're doing now hadn't happened a couple of years ago. Like it would have, without us, I think it's fine. It just would suck, right? Like the data stuff would suck. There would be no communication. Like we have something called the Comet Rapid uh, helpline or something like that. I'm on it and I can't remember what we call it, but the idea is like we have contacts at each company where if something's bad with somebody's data, we can reach out to them and they just fix it.
Right,
And that means it gets fixed for every store, not just my store. Every store it gets fixed for. So that was super important that we built. If we didn't have that kind of thing, and Diamond disappears like they have, because they essentially, in what, it was May that they were bought, June, July. In 8 weeks, they have disintegrated.
right,
Can you imagine the industry we would have? Like, we would not have an industry straight up.
right.
So, the fact that we've gone through all this stuff, um, if it hadn't have happened, I firmly believe the industry would have died. And it would come around in 6 months to a year, but there would be no way to get product. Like, be a Canadian and try and get Viz right now. And imagine if that was every single publisher. Be a
Right.
Canadian and try and get Zenoscope. And imagine if that was every single publisher. Yeah, it would
Right.
be impossible.
So, kind of back to my original question is in what in the midst of all of this collaboration, in the midst of everybody finally coming together and like putting aside our sharks and jets,
Mhm.
Montagues and Capulets, you know, I don't know what a more modern reference is.
Yeah.
I need to get a reference from now, but everybody putting that aside, be- in that vein, what are you excited to be working on going forward? What are you excited to see this industry tackle next?
Well, the I think the big thing and the thing that Adam and I are working on is, and with Django and like a bunch of other folks, sales charts. I think sales charts will be super cool. Not just for um, the Monday morning quarterbacking of it. Like
Mhm.
I would love to know what the actual numbers that Batman's going to do are. I think that'll be so much fun. But the part that I want to build is, it's one thing to have insight into your own store. And so one of the things that we're working on building is like a subscription velocity chart that'll say, um, I'm trying to think of like something that surprisingly caught on. The Power Fantasy is a good one. Where like when Power Fantasy was first announced, there were like, 2 subs for it. And then
Right.
suddenly it kind of crept up. And when it launched, we had like 24 subs for Power Fantasy. I want to know, were we an anomaly, or is that something that was consistently happening? And if it was consistently happening in other stores, then you can actually like highlight Power Fantasy and say, other stores, this is trending. This might be something. Mark Spears Monsters is a perfect example. Um, as soon as I heard about Spears Monsters, which I think was around issue 3, I bought like 10 copies on spec. I was just like, we have 2 people that want this. I'm going to buy 10 copies. I sold 10 copies. So the next month I bought 12 copies. we sold 12 copies. So now I'm up to like 18 copies and we sell 18 copies. And if you can tell from other people that this is like, I would highlight that red and say, this is a trending title that other people are seeing sell really, really quickly. You may want to increase your orders for it.
One of
Conversely, we
Mhm.
could say New History of the DC Universe has the most retailer orders gap versus subscription orders across the so you may want to be careful with that if that was the case. Like I pick on that one because they have the bundle packages and stuff. So I think I went 70 copies of numbers
right,
1 and 2. And it'll also have a long tail, so I'm okay with selling that over time. But yeah, I
right,
think those things are like, that's the kind of insight I want to see. I want to see trends outside of my own thing, because I'm going to be able to sell more copies if other people are selling more stuff.
right. And by the way, this is one of the things I like talking to you about retail about is that your numbers aren't super inflaty.
No,
You know,
no,
you
God,
talk to
no.
some people, it's like, "Oh, I sold 150 copies of." No, you didn't. Shut up.
No, my Batman numbers are like 48. I have
Right,
128 customers. So that means that like almost half my customers are buying Batman. That's an
right,
awesome success story to me.
right.
Um, yeah.
You know,
And
yeah.
then I, I
When
usually
I had
buy five
150
extras.
people on my pull list, I was
Yeah.
selling 52 copies of Batman. Like,
Yeah. That's a great number. That's one
right? We
third.
don't.
1 in 3 are buying Batman. Yeah.
Right. Real numbers make it so much easier to have real conversations about this stuff.
Absolutely. So I'd
Um.
love to see that kind of industry wide. I'd love to see
Right.
real numbers around, how many Batman sold this month, how
Well, and
many, and then it gives us kind of rough print numbers, right? We can say, okay, if there was 500,000 Batman sold, number one, and there's a 1 in 25, then we know that there are potentially 500,000 divided by 25 copies of that 1 in 25 available. And there are
right,
potentially 500,000 divided by 50 of the 1 in 50. Obviously,
right,
those numbers aren't going to be exactly right, because there's going to be a lot of folks like me that are going to order 48 and not want to do those extra two to get the 50.
right, right.
But it'll give us some ideas.
Well, and that's the other part of this that I think is an interesting conversation to have is that um you have stores that play different that are in different businesses.
Yeah. Oh,
The joke I
absolutely. Yeah.
make all the time is that I am I I am a retailer and I'm not in the same business as say Steve Anderson at Third Eye.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I am a retailer. I'm not in the same business as Brian Hibbs. I'm not in the same business
100%.
as
Yeah.
Phil Boyle. That's not to say those guys aren't equally comic retailers. They're
Yeah.
just in a different like they have their business model is so different. So when we talk about numbers, we have no ability to filter,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
right?
Yeah.
We have no okay, so Midtown can order 100,000 copies of something
Yeah.
because they have the mechanism to sell it.
Yeah.
I'm ordering a copy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if we
It's,
don't have any way to separate those two categories,
yeah, I agree. I
then all
agree.
of a sudden it's, oh, that book's wildly successful. No, 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 it friggin' isn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's true.
successful in one place with one thing.
It's so funny to like comparing brick and mortar to online. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but there's an arrogance about people that have brick and mortar that you're only online, right? And I look at it a little differently. Like, every brick and mortar has the potential to be me.
Right,
I don't have the potential to be every brick and mortar unless I open a physical location somewhere. And I've looked. And
right,
the thing that's stopping me right now is, when you have a physical brick and mortar location, you are paying a human being to be in there when there are no human beings in there.
right,
When I pay my staff, I pay them for time when they're actually working. They're never sitting there waiting for a person to come in, right? Like, because we work 12 to 18 hours a week, and all we're doing when we're there is processing orders, processing orders, processing orders.
right,
Um, and I've looked at opening a store. If I do, it'll also be my managed comics office, and I'll just like be there. But Nobody coming in between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. most in most stores. So yeah, it'll just be like where I hang out during the day. But
Right. And
the
that's what my retail it will be as well. Is it'll be the EXP studios,
yeah,
but in the
but
front I'll be clerking.
exactly, yeah. The thing that kind of kills me though is like Hibbs has often said, "Oh, you don't have the overhead I have." And I will guarantee you I spend more in boxes and shipping than
Mhm.
half at least of all Comics Pro stores
Right.
spend in rent, right? And so that's just like that's an expense they don't have that I have. Now they probably spend more in staff costs than I do for sure, but my warehouse is massive. Like I've got so
Mhm.
much warehouse space and I'm running out of space all the time. So I pay a hefty amount of money for that. Uh, Hibbs is always talking about, online stores are all discounters. I give 10% off of cover to probably 50 customers who've been
Right.
with us a long, long time, but most customers don't get any discount. We do um, free shipping on orders over $100 because stupid Amazon has trained people that you should expect shipping to be free. And I have a really good deal with a shipping company that is very cheap. Um, but yeah, like I'm paying more for shipping, I'm paying more for boxes, I'm paying more for all those things than any online retailer is or any brick and mortar retailer is. So it's yeah, it's I don't know why we got to be
Right.
against each other. And then
Well,
if you ask most on brick and mortar retailers, they don't want to ship. So how am I
right.
affecting you in any way, shape, or form?
Right. And that's kind of the direction I was going with this is that as the industry changes, our definitions of things have to change.
Yeah.
Um, I was talking with he's an educator in comics, is what I would call him now. Is kind of the role he's filled in. He teaches kids about graphic storytelling.
Cool.
Yeah, but he also is a historian of comics, and he keeps using this book got canceled. This book was canceled. This book got canceled. I'm going, did it get canceled or did it friggin' end?
Yeah,
Did they
exactly.
did they say we're gonna do 6 books, 6 issues, and then uh uh cut it down to
Yeah.
4 because they told the story in 4? Sorry, I got
Yeah.
a message from Tom Hutchison, uh, like a half an hour ago asking us to define one of our terms, and I missed it. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Um,
Which term?
but industry. Um, right, but
Yeah.
but I think we've answered his point in that there is no one way to do anything anymore.
Yeah. The comics industry is these 4,300 little industries
Right,
all at once.
4,300. Yes, little industries. Um, so we've dived into the weeds. We've kind of got into some of the nitty gritty kind of conversations, guys. If you have questions for Brian,
My
throw them in
gosh,
the
yes.
chat.
Ask me questions. I love questions.
Yes, ask Brian questions in the
You can
chat.
ask me questions about
Uh,
my tattoo if you want. You want to know what's on there, I can tell you. You want to know,
well,
where's the Starman tattoo? It's over here. You want to
but
know what
again,
my
it's
favorite superhero is? It's Starman. There you go. Jack Knight specific.
right. But no, so we've kind of talked about the nerdy stuff that I always want to talk to you about, right? And the interesting thing is that I feel like there are a group of us, you, again, Brian, Django and Jeff, Adam, myself, maybe an Adam Phillips is in there. There's some other people that we're like the people from that book Minor Threats.
Yeah.
We're low key superheroes or low key supervillains, all doing our own little things, but all working towards one ends,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
which is a healthier comic book business. And I think everybody is doing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For
But
sure.
you as a retailer, Django as a retailer, but you're also these other things.
Yep.
You know, the days of just being a retailer I think are gone.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of long for it. Like if I ever exit this thing, if I sell it off to Django or something like that, I could see myself being completely happy. Like I've even got the town picked out. It's called Stratford. It's about an hour from where I
I
am.
love Stratford.
They have like a massive theater crowd that comes in the summer, and then it's very quiet in the winter. And I think that would be a great place to base a online store that also has like a really cool, I want a cafe bookstore, just a
Right.
really nice high-end looking cafe bookstore with original art on the walls, like because those people are affluent, can buy that original art. And there ain't 2 pages of issue number 1 of Starman, page 22. There's one copy of that ever.
Right.
Um,
Right.
not that I own that one, but um, yeah, like
It,
that's kind of my dream. And I keep saying to my wife, like, so my daughter is a dog groomer. She went to school to become an illustrator and basically hated it, and then became a dog groomer. And my thing is like, you used to have a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. Why
mhm.
can't a dog groomer be a like fulfilling and satisfying? Like, why do you have to be a friggin' investment banker to have a successful career? Like, we've defined success in such a shitty way that I think in our lifetime it would be wonderful if we could get back to a comic store owner being something that you can be. You can just
Right.
own a comic store. That's it.
Well,
You
and I
don't have to
say,
be Phil Boyle. You don't have to be Steve Anderson. You can just run
right.
your shop and live a nice life.
But when I say the days of being just a comic retailer are over, I mean in that your shop has to, you also have to have a knack for having a website, or
Yeah.
you have to have a little bit of a web manager thought, or you have to understand the toy market or the book market or the coffee market, right? There's
Yeah.
the
So I
days of just being a hole in the wall
yeah, I
are
think I
gone.
would
You
I
got to
would
be
push
better than
up against that and say that like growing up, the comic stores that we went to were those third places, right? Like there were
that.
the
Mhm.
ones that you went to because one, they knew your name. Like it was a place where everybody knew your name. Two, they knew what you liked. uh, Being a good comic store owner is not about sitting behind the counter. It's about engaging with the customers and knowing the stuff. So if you are doing that online and behind the counter, you're just expanding your reach to more people, right? So yeah, you're right that you can't just be the guy behind the counter anymore.
Right.
You can, you just have to hire the girl that's in front of the camera as well now. So yeah, I think
I
it is a
I
great
yeah,
question you
I'm
just
gonna get to it in
asked.
a second, but I was gonna say, I think I used to tell people that being a comic shop retailer, comic shop owner, brick and mortar store owner, was 2/3 selling comics, 1/3 being a therapist.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So, okay,
A-
EJB, good.
And I would even say it's like 1/3 like being a soothsayer. You can, it's almost like a confidence man. Like you need to know enough about people that you
Right,
know what people will like.
right.
My one of my favorite comic stories of all time was one year we were at Fan Expo Canada, which is like the big. It's like I think it's the third largest convention in North, probably fourth now because New York is so huge and C2E2 are so huge. But it's like one of the big 5 conventions in North America. 300,000 people go through there over the course of a weekend. One year when the game Rock Band was out, there was the harmonics booth was like 4 booths down from us, and there was a lineup of people because they were playing Paradise City. So there was a lineup of people coming down. I heard Paradise City like 750,000 times that weekend. My business partner was so mad because his lineup was in front of our table and it just kept on, there were people just standing there in front of our table. So I did this crazy thing. You'll never believe what I did. I started talking to them and I would just be like, "Hey, what do you like?" And they'd be like, "Oh, I don't really like comics. I don't really read comics. I'm here for this thing." I'd be like, "Okay, cool. What kind of music do you like?" "Oh, like I like you wouldn't get it. I love like death metal and stuff like that." "Oh, you like death metal? Yeah, yeah. Have you ever read Killing Joke? Because like there's a band called the Killing Joke, and they actually got the name of the band from the graphic novel. You ever read it? And that weekend happened to be the week where DC had given us we were it was like a consignment program for the first hardcover of Killing Joke and Watchmen, because the Watchmen movie was out. So we'd bought like 5 cases. Kyle, I sold through every single case of Watchmen and Killing Joke that weekend because I
Right.
talked with the people who were in front of us who never bought comics. And by the end of that weekend, I had people coming back and being like, "Hey, I bought that Watchmen from you guys. Is there anything like that? Hey, have you ever read? Have you ever heard of The Man Who Laughs? It's a great series about early
Hmm.
Joker. You'd really enjoy that." So yeah,
Well,
it
and
was great.
yeah, for me, it was about like, and so the peak of my retail was the peak of the Walking Dead TV show.
Oh my god, that's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Right. It's so everybody's like, "Oh, I want to read The Walking Dead." Well, okay, yeah, I can sell you one book a month,
Yeah,
but hey, let me tell you about Pestilence,
yeah.
and let me tell you about Marvel Zombies, and let me tell you about
Let me
these
show
other
you
things
these
that are
back
happening.
issues by a guy named Vince Locke of a book
Right.
called Dead World. And when you read
Right.
this, you're going to be like, "Oh my god, this is Walking
Right.
Dead from
Let me
1991."
introduce you to Caliber Comics.
Yeah, exactly,
Right?
right?
Like,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And it's but I'll never forget a guy coming in going, "Hey, I only want to read The Walking Dead." And me going, "Okay, you could totally only read The Walking Dead, but if you're only reading The Walking Dead because it's the TV show, you're going to be disappointed. Let me introduce you to Pestilence, which was a book from Aftershock that was another
Right.
zombie book." And I go, "I guarantee you this book won't disappoint you."
Yeah.
And he comes back and goes, "F The Walking Dead, man. I want more of that Pestilence book."
Yeah.
Like, it's that idea of having a conversation with somebody, understanding what they like, understanding what they're thinking,
Yeah.
and being like, "Oh, you like this because of the what you're seeing here, or this because of this interaction.
Yeah.
Let me give you
Exactly.
something that is going to give you that interaction over and over and over again."
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Um,
100%.
somebody, the other one I had was somebody came in and they had Marvel had done a Not Brand X
Yeah. Yeah.
one shot, and they're like, "Man, I want more comedy books." Oh, okay. Can I introduce you to this super indie book called Jujitsu Jesus?
Yeah. Right. Right.
And like comedy comics, really? But
Yeah.
okay. Let's talk to EJB. In an online store only store, do you see regular recurring customers that shop random off the shelf titles, or do the regulars mostly have a pull box subscription?
Yeah. So mostly it's pull box subscriptions, but we do carry like I'll take a flyer on some stuff. So I still bring in, I don't know, this week I think we've probably got 30 or 40 different books that we brought in on top of, let me see. This is my website. I'll show you my website. If you're Canadian, you should come check it out. If you're not, I mean, you can check it out. You just won't be happy because uh,
Can you
our shipping is
does the
terrible.
Arctic Circle, even if it's technically the United States, count as Canada? Just asking for Lyle.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of that is, our land. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, we'll bring in the stuff that the absolute stuff. I can sell that stuff all day long. So I bring
Right.
in 5 or 6 extra copies over my subs. And that is enough to last me probably 2 or 3 months. Uh, Nobody has bought a copy of Amazing Spider-Man in weeks. And by the way, I'm not gouging. This is literally the Canadian equivalent of what 4.99 is. It's 6.99. And Marvel books are sold to us in Canadian funds. And as you can see, this 4.99 Marvel book is 6.25. Don't ask me why. I happily pay half of that to my distributor. Yeah, so this is just kind of a sampling of the
So
stuff that we
you
got
take
this
your
week
pull list numbers, your sub numbers, and you by and large increase them a couple of copies.
for some books, not for
Right.
all.
Right.
Um,
When you're gonna have inventory for a long tail.
yeah, yeah. So like Imperial, I know that I'm going to sell this for a while. It's a Hickman book. Um, it's an event book. This will sell for a while. I took a flyer on these Gotham City Sirens things. I have
Mhm.
not sold one off the shelf, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do all 5 and bundle them up and see if I can sell them. Godzilla, we always have like 5 or 6 people buy Godzilla. Nobody was interested in picking this up, so I bought 10 copies. At the very least, I'll sell them at shows because
Mhm.
it's weird. Like I do comic and toy shows, and the toy shows, every time I have like 20 people come by and say, "Hey, do you have any Godzilla comics?" And I'm like,
Right.
I now know I will get rid of every single one of these Godzilla comics the next time I do a show.
Right. So, but
Uh,
you're for your web store, you're looking at your sub numbers, and then
yep,
on things that you think you'll be able to sell again on a long tail or at a show, a couple of extra copies.
yep, yeah, and it's not a lot. It's yeah,
But
maximum
then
be
if a
5
sub
probably.
customer comes in and says, "Hey, here's my pull list, here's my sub list," and I, you know, how do they add to their pull? Like, how do they say, "Oh, I didn't order seasons. It wasn't on my list, but I'd like to check out seasons." Can you
Yeah, so
just
they can
shop
so
on the regular website just like normal?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So all these things I can buy in the website and watch this is gonna be so much fun. I should have actually bought some. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna drop that out because I'll just buy this thing while I'm here. Um, I just grabbed a copy of Superman today, so I'm gonna grab. I'll go ahead and pay for it. I love the Legion, so this story I had to buy.
Mhm,
So I bought one of those bundles of 25. So that's why I
mhm.
can offer a little bit better deal on it too. And I'll try and get people excited about this week. So I sent out an email and said, "Hey, this is one of the things that we're really promoting this week." Um, and yeah, I can go ahead and buy that. And then because I'm a subscriber, it is going to apply a free add with subs. So all of our subscribers get tagged as subscribers. And if they try and buy anything on the website, it says, we're just going to add that to your bin for free. So you're not going to get charged for shipping. And so
Nice.
that encourages people to buy more stuff. Yeah, it's like simple little things like that that we found um, Earth that we found
Very good.
really yeah, sorry, I closed it
No,
on
you're
you
good.
though.
Yep.
Yeah,
No.
we found that that helps to kind of get rid of those barriers as well. And then, like I said, we send an email out every week that says, "Here's the stuff that we've added to the store." I send a weekly FOC email that's just like, "Here's the big things that we don't want you to miss on FOC." And then on Managed Comics, there's an FOC page that has all the current FOC stuff, and you can also subdivide that by like, let's say, I just want to see new series and I only want to see new series from DC. So this is what's on sale on FOC this week for DC.
Right. By the way,
That's a new series.
that third Dead Man cover was going to be number one tomorrow on the FOC show that I had to cancel.
Oh
So
man, that's a gorgeous cover.
it is a good cover. It was going to be number one, but then there's an absolute flash cover that's actually better than it.
Oh really? Is that on FOC this week?
Hmm.
Oh yeah. Which one?
Right there.
This
Second
one?
cover in.
Okay, yeah,
Hmm.
I get you.
That is, it's just a gorgeous Wally West cover.
God, Dinmore is good, isn't he? Look at that
Yes.
cover. That is so nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could look at
Right.
comic covers all day.
Right.
That's my absolute favorite thing about running the shop is like our half of our lunar order arrived today. And so I just love like opening it up and seeing all the covers and getting to see them like a full week before anybody else does. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah, that was the thing I liked the most. I hated the admin, uh, but I loved
Yeah.
processing news every week because it's like I don't know about anybody else, but the smell,
Yeah. 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 I love, yeah. It's
the
funny.
smell.
I'm allergic to mold. So old comics actually just make me so like allergy ridden. But man, new comics, the smell of fresh ink. Oh, it's my favorite smell in the world.
Right. So
Yes.
I just had a question come to mind, Brian.
Yeah.
Nick says he's going all in on Godzilla these days.
I don't think you're
Because
wrong,
it's
man.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard not
it's,
to, and
yeah.
yeah.
And it's one of
So
those things that like people just keep on rediscovering Godzilla and how heckin' cool he is. And they, yeah,
so if somebody is say like me, who the bulk of their business is single copy,
yep,
right? The bulk of my business is you need an ASM 252. I have an ASM 252.
yep.
How does something like that work with your Shopify and your managed comics?
Well, that stuff works really well with Shopify. It doesn't with Managed Comics yet. We are our plan for this summer. Our summer project was going to be, before we decided to save the industry, was going to
Mhm.
be something that we were calling Managed Comics Classics, which was literally going to be every comic ever available through Shopify. So you'd be able to, instead of having a subscription list, you'd have a want list. Instead
Right.
of having, a subscription to a series, you'd have a tracker that would say you already have these 5 issues and you need these 20. What's really cool about that is if we start doing this at scale with a lot of shops, and we've got, like I said, 253 or 5 stores that use Managed Comics right now, eventually we could start to build like a network where
Right.
shops could start trading amongst each other. But the thing about that is, like, everyone always starts there and then works their way back to the customer experience. We've
Right.
always started at the customer experience and worked our way towards like what the retailers super need, because 150 retailers will tell you exactly with excruciating detail what they want from their subscription system.
Hmm.
And I guarantee you that is diametrically opposed to what the customers want.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question there. Um, it's about 1.5 million comics. Our database currently holds, and this is from 2009 till now, it currently holds 625,000. So it's, 3 times what we have. But it's, yeah, the challenges with that database are so different than what we have now, because even though we have 625,000 items, we're only ever showing a sliver of 9,000 of them at a time. So
Right.
being able to show, like, how do you kind of solve the UX problem of 1.5 million back issues?
Right.
That's
Well, and it's like
that's kind of what we're playing around with.
when you think about every comic ever sounds like a massive database, and when you think about an operation again like mine, where I have 6 pull list customers that I still service,
Yep.
um, I don't do a lot of new books. Right. I have, like I
Yeah.
said, I have 6. Um, but I have a inventory of something like 75 short boxes. And
Yeah.
unless it's a Ninja Turtles or a Preacher book, and Preacher is just not, it's not for the same reason as Ninja Turtles, I don't have more than one copy of anything.
Yeah.
I very seldom will have multiple copies of something unless it's, again, Preacher, which wound up being something that during when that show happened, I just wound up with a bunch of collections, so I wound up with volume.
Yeah.
But or Turtles, which I deal in volume, like you have 1.5 million comics in the database, and everybody's going to have to go through and put in, I don't know how many, at 150 books a box, give or take. Call it 100
Yeah.
books a box. 75 short boxes is still, what is that? 75,000 comics.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, so one of the things that we're building into this system will be image recognition, which isn't perfect because you have facsimiles and things like that, but it will get you at least down to the list of things.
Right.
And I've been talking to one guy who's also got like a condition grader kind of system built in. So we'll see if we do something like that. But
Yeah.
I
That's
still think
that's why I
that's a
switched to
very
Overstreet
human thing.
Access. To
What's that?
Overstreet Access. That's why I switched to Overstreet Access. Is their image scanner was really good.
You know what's hilarious though? Overstreet doesn't have UPC codes,
No.
which is so bizarre to me.
Right.
If they
Oh, it has a
did,
million other problems,
yeah,
but its image scanner was really good. And then when it couldn't scan the image, it had a button you press that says "Submit this image, and
yeah,
we'll get
that's
it
cool.
fixed."
Yeah, for sure.
Like, all right,
Yeah,
fantastic. It made it very user friendly as opposed to very database friendly.
yeah, for sure.
So that was cool. Would that database separate things like variants, or is it all one SKU?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of every UPC gets its own SKU, gets its own page. And I think that stores that put variants underneath the main A cover um, are actually kind of burying the stuff, and they won't do as well as a store that keeps each. I've even seen some places that, like, Batman will have 1,100 variants because they have every issue as a variant on Batman. That is a terrible way to do it because you hide all those variants. And so only one item gets crawled by Google. Whereas if you have 1,100 items get crawled by Google, and it just makes your site more broad. So yeah, we always make every item its own SKU. The only thing where we wouldn't do that is like t-shirts.
Right.
Um, or like if you so I'll tell you a little secret. Um, I'm going to share a little something with you.
While you're doing that, can I just tell you guys, the nurses here are so like happy to have a patient that's not like problem
I know,
that
right?
she just came in and like brought me a nice post-it note of, "Hey, I know you're on your stream, but here are the drugs you're supposed to take in 10 minutes."
That's so amazing. Yeah, yeah. I was in a hospital a couple of years ago for a few days, and the nurses just loved me because I was like, I was did what they asked me to do, and
Right? And then
was
I'm like, "I'm
usually
working. Like you're
wandering
working,
around. Yeah,
I'm working. Let's just, stay out of each other's hair as much as
yeah,
possible. I'm not gonna bother you. You don't bother me. I'm here because I gotta be. You're here because you gotta be. We're done."
yeah. I love it. So
So
I just launched last night. Can I share my screen? Did it? Oh, you got to do the magic. So I helped Ignition launch their website officially last night, and this was a great example where I'm going to go product type comics, and I know murder podcast. So these Jeremy has a signed and a signed and blood splattered version. So we made those as options because a signature is a attribute of a comic. It's not, whereas a cover is like a thing, right? Like that's a physical part of it. Um, a t-shirt
see,
is the attribute is that it's large, extra large, whatever.
great.
So
And
yeah,
this
that's
is
how
an
I always think of it.
interesting thing too to talk about, right? Like, so a signed comic,
Hmm.
it's almost like if you click signed, you're buying an add-on.
Yeah,
As I
exactly.
bring my mouse over to try to click unsigned. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's like you're buying an add-on. You're not buying a different product. You're buying an add-on to your product.
correct. Yeah,
Right? You don't buy a car and then have to go separately and buy power windows and locks. You buy the add-on to your car.
right. Yeah,
Um, but if you buy a car and you want it in red, well, that is a very different product than a car that's in blue.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so again, I think that's an interesting way to think of things. And I think, by the way, I was tooling around on here today after their announcement hit the wire, and really great site.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we put it together pretty quickly. Just content and stuff kind of came together at the last minute. So we were originally building it as two different sites. There was going to be a Squarespace site and then a Shopify site. When possible, I would prefer to merge sites because you get better SEO out of one
Mhm.
site. And whenever possible, I prefer to have a shop as your main site, just because your SEO on a store is always going to be higher than your SEO on like just a brochure where site. So yeah, I'm pretty happy that we ended up going this way, and it all came together in the last like 48 hours, and I'm really really happy with it. There may have been 2 nights in a row where I stayed up until 4 o'clock in the morning working on websites. And they may also have been two of my favorite nights in the last 365 days.
Right? So we've got about 15 minutes left. And I titled this behind the scenes, the unseen heroes who are saving comics. And we talked about it earlier, the kind of the joke that, you be out here saving the industry. Um the narrative still exists, I think, for a lot of fans that comics are dying. The narrative
Yeah.
still exists for a lot of stores that's a dying
Yeah.
medium. A lot of artists think that way. What would you say to those people? And then what would your evidence be? I guess is kind of the question.
Yeah, well, I guess sales are one of the key ones, and like 2024 was one of the stronger years. 2023 was a massive dip, but it was almost like a hangover. Like it was like everybody had bought too much crap in 2020, 2021, and 2022, myself included. I bought very little things, period, in 2023. And then last year, kind of we really got back to a pre-pandemic world. Like I was seeing as many movies as I was pre-pandemic, all that kind of stuff. So I think um, we've noticed sales have increased. My sales are a little bit higher than they were at when Pete owned All New Comics, and I think
Mhm.
that's just like the products are just selling better. Our subs are higher. I've actually added quite a few subs too. I think I've added like 15 subs, and I've lost probably 15 or 20 since I took over. Um, Turns out a jumping on point is also a jumping off point, and that's something
Right.
that every publisher needs to understand.
Hmm.
Uh,
More
so
people buy number ones than buy number twos, but
yeah,
different people are buying number ones than number twos.
yeah, I'll tell you the biggest shock for me was Amazing Spider-Man. This is the first time, and I know they've relaunched like 20 times. So one of the tools we have in Managed Comics is that you can clone subscribers from a previous series into another series. So we cloned all the Amazing subs into the new Amazing Spider-Man, and we lost 10 customers who deleted it after I had cloned them in. So that was kind of wild to me. I was really really shocked by it. I hope we don't see the same thing with Batman. I don't think we will. The anticipation around Fraction, I think, is really really high.
Mhm.
So I think sales are up. Um, I'm going to give you three big things. The Just the pure quality of comics is better than it's ever been.
Hmm.
And there's like comics for everyone for the first time ever. Like you like murdering teddy bears? We've got a comic for that. Beneath the trees. You like horror podcasts? Hey, there's Ignition has a new series coming out. You really like comics but wish they were a little bit bigger? Have you met our friends at Distillery?
Right.
And their stuff is so great. And every time I hear a retailer complaining about this form factor, I go like, guys, when I sell a Superman comic, I make $3. When I sell a Distillery comic, I make $6. The effort is exactly the same. Like I will sell Distillery comics all day long because it's double the profit margin. And I
Hmm.
can't understand a store that oh, I will never carry Distillery because you don't like money.
Right.
You're crazy.
Any store that says never is a store that's not going to be around forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, no, it's
So
true.
yeah, I think comics have never been better, honestly. Like certain companies have got their issues right now, but by and large, I'm enjoying comics more than I have ever. And then the
Yeah.
third thing is that there is a cohort that is coming of age, the likes of which we as a comics industry has never seen before. And it is our responsibility to be there for them and be where they are. So you and I grew up and I'm about, I think, 10, 12 years older than you. So I grew up in an age where comics were not cool. And in fact, you actually had to like learn the language of comics. And if you didn't learn the language of comics, and this is a fact, if you don't learn the language of comics by about 25 and you pick up a comic at 25, it is very hard to just understand the flow of a panel, how things work. My wife to this day she's way smarter than me and struggles reading comics because she gets confused. If a panel gets too big, and it's like, well, is this one before or after that one before there?
Hmm.
So there's a language you learn um, in reading comics. And when I was a kid, I read like Legion and Batman and Detective, and the Claremont X-Men, and none of those spoke down to me. Right? They were all
Right.
a little bit beyond my recognition. And then Alan Moore released this thing called Swamp Thing. And I remember reading it and being scared shitless because I was about like 14 when it came out. And I read it and I was like, this is terrifying. and it was so challenging to my brain. And then when I hit about 18, 19, Grant Morrison releases Doom Patrol, right? And it's like I'd never even heard of Dadaism and all that stuff. And so comics were challenging me as I was growing up and becoming interesting. And Vertigo came out and it was dangerous at a time when I needed comics to be dangerous because I was into girls and motorcycles and rock and roll,
Right.
right? And suddenly comics like were there for me. So this cohort I'm talking about is this little group of kids who grew up with scholastic book fairs, who
Mm-hmm.
have been introduced from literally my kids have known about comics since like they were tiny, and they would have known about them whether I gave them to them or not. And what's cool is every one of their friends knew about Dogman. They knew about Captain Underpants. They knew about Smile. Like the girls all loved Raina Telgemeier and the Babysitters
Mm-hmm.
Club. And then they all hit high school, and guess what we did, Kyle? Guess what we did?
Started talking down to him.
We abandoned them. Worse, there is no such thing as a scholastic book fair at high schools. There is
Right.
no like the comics just suddenly are not part of their lives. This is something that every one of these kids, you go into any of my kids' friends' bedrooms, and when they were 7 and 8, they were just piled with Dogmans and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And now we've just abandoned them. And those kids
Right.
didn't forget comics. And the way I know that is when I sponsored ZCN, Adam sent me like 200 extra copies of the issue that Managed Comics was in. And I was like, crap, what am I going to do with 200? I have 128 customers, Kyle. There's only so much I can do with them. So I gave a bunch to my kid and I said, just give them to friends. Like give them out in the halls. I don't care what you do with them. Just get them out of our warehouse. So he did. And every one of those kids came back and they were like, why am I not reading all this stuff? Like, this is great.
Right.
So we've got to be where they are, not expect them to come to us. And like, I'm thinking street teams, the same way that you get kids into music. Like, I've pitched this to DC. Like, you guys have to do the Scholastic Book Fair of high school. And with Vertigo coming out and things like that, man, the company that cracks that nut, they will print money, Kyle. They will print money because those kids are desperate for it. And they have money because they all work at McDonald's and Tim Hortons, and they don't know what to do with it other than, blow it on more food.
Video games, right.
That's my thing.
No, for me coming up, I can remember going into the local comic shop as a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Because Dad and Grandpa collected comics.
Yeah.
Grandpa bought ASM off the rack the week my dad was born.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a thing. And so I remember recognizing John Romita Jr. art at like a young age and going, okay, comics is what we do. But I want to play Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm talking to the guy in the shop and he hands me the first trade paperback of Preacher.
Right.
And I'm like 13.
See, comics were dangerous, dude.
I should not have been reading Preacher at 13.
Right.
But my dad says, do you promise to read it? And I go, yeah. And he goes, don't tell your mother. And he bought me the book and I loved it. And then it was, give me more of this. And he just starts handing me more Vertigo.
Yeah.
And it was Grant Morrison and it was Neil Gaiman and it was Alan Moore and it was all this stuff. And then it was, hey, you like that Alan Moore guy? Here, try this other thing. And it's Cinema Purgatorio.
Yeah.
It's these. So, and then it's, oh, you like that? Try The Crow.
Yeah.
And the guy who created The Crow is from up the road.
Yeah.
And they publish it in Michigan. And it changed everything because, they didn't talk down to me and they provided a place for me. So, Brian, this has been a fun conversation for me. I hope it's been kind of a fun conversation for you.
Oh my God, this is my favorite. Yeah, I love talking about, I love comics. Like, you can tell, right?
Right.
But that's my favorite thing about all this stuff is like, people are kind of surprised at how genuine I am. Like, I love comic books. That is not a prop behind me. Those are actually my books. Like, I love it.
Right.
I love this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I will say this, they did it with Rekka, Rosenberg did it. It's becoming a thing and I love it. Tony Fleece and Tone Rodriguez did it for Farrell.
Yeah.
So shout out to those
with the
guys.
Ignition crew too. I think they're going to start doing a lot of pop-ups and stuff like that.
So, everybody, Brian, where can people follow you? Where can they find Managed Comics? Where can they do the things on the internet?
Yeah, if they just go Google at Managed Comics, I'm at Managed Comics on Instagram, on Facebook, on all those things. So if you Google at Managed Comics, you're going to find me in all my places. If you're Canadian, come check out earth519.com. I'm happy to ship all over Canada. We are not shipping to the United States right now because I don't know what the heck's going on with tariffs, man. Every other week, I hear another nightmare about.
I keep saying I'm going to sign up with
Over.
you for my pull list and just meet you in the middle of Lake Erie.
That's true. Yeah,
Because it'll
we
be
could
in the
do that.
middle for both of us.
We'll
But no,
cross at Sarnia.
right, exactly. So, but no. So everybody, head over, check out Managed Comics, check out Comet Standard. I'm really excited for what Oryx was going to bring to the industry. Every Tuesday at 2,
Yes,
Brian
come
and
to
Adam,
Mystery
Comic
Insiders.
History Inside Our Lives. Also, there's Meanwhile at Managed Comics. There's
Yep,
also the Data Bros. So
yeah,
you can
we're
find
right on
Brian,
time.
man. Just look for the little alien guy.
That's right.
That I got to get one of the hats. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But everybody, stay tuned for Mel and Mog up next here on The Experience. Brian will be back on Tuesday. I will be back this weekend. So we will see everybody next time. Sorry to rush out.